Welcome back, YouTube. I'm recording this video to let you guys know and to show you some charts here to show you exactly where we are in the current run, because everything that's happening right now has happened before. We've seen these rallies, and then we've seen like a brief consolidation period, and then we see a major explosion. I'm going to compare it to a couple of charts because I just made a post on X about Bitcoin, because people seem to forget that it went to 20,000 all the way down to 3, and then it rallied to 12,000 and went back down to 5. So we're talking like 300% increases, getting cut in half back down to 5, and then the explosion up in that in 2021. So people also forget that the bull run is 18 months. Historically it's 18 months. Now there's a couple factors that may have caused this bull run to be shortened, but based off of history, the bull run is a year and a half, right? And so it's not straight shots. It's not zone to zone the entire time. Now, there was a couple of situations where I thought, just because we had more people coming into the coin and everything was running early, that we could potentially skip out or maybe not have as deep a pullback for the halving. But that's not going to be the case here. We are trending towards some of those historic ranges for the halving, which is fine. I don't see a downside to that at all. Even if people were trying to time I know a large percentage of the people try and time the bull run or try and time the market. So you're getting to see some of those coins around that time where you see the pullback for the halving. And then after that, we start that gradual ascend to like those higher levels there. So for the people that have been waiting on the sidelines, or for the people that have been saying, now that they have evidence that we're getting close to the actual run, they have an opportunity here to kind of jump in. So that kind of helps in that aspect. But we haven't broke trend, and I wanted to kind of deal with that before we got into the video. Until there's a divergence, there's nothing to worry about. But so I want to point out, this is going to show more evident in Bitcoin, but I want to start with Doge, because Bitcoin, this is Dogecoins. Technically, it's just going to be a second, third, really bull run, second bull run in the top 10. So it's going to follow a lot of those bigger coins more closely now. So we can kind of compare that to 2021 in some aspects, but more than likely it's going to deal with the 2016 run. But I wanted to point out the fact that we had these major explosions and what dealt with them. So this obviously the run to the all-time high. This is on a bigger counter, so you're not seeing a lot of the individual candlesticks. But we were dealing with, obviously, the market was expanding, which is obviously peak bull run. I think people need to kind of understand that this explosion happened. There was Elon and hype, and this was technically peak bull run, right? The ladder of the bull run was already underway. So Doge kind of caught the tail end of the bull run as it got introduced to the masses, right? So, but technically this would have been a much smoother increase. We saw some of it, back when Doge was still just basically like on TikTok and circulating around like on Reddit. We'll see this gradual increase at around like December. You'll start seeing like some of the numbers, because some people got in with a bunch of zeros in front of their number back when Doge was like less than 500,000. Under 100 million, and we'll start to see this gradual ascent. Now, this will be more evident on a coin like Bitcoin. So I want to show you the gradual ascent here before we get into charts, because a lot of times people assume that it's going to be like a straight shot up, and that's never been the case. But the zones, everything is still relevant, but we do have those moments where, okay, what's taking so long, where we have those consolidations and those pullbacks, and it kind of gives you an idea. So this is what I was talking about, right? So this is 2017, right? So 2016, we're talking about having you're going out and say, okay, well, what's going to be the next bull run? When is that going to be? So you have the gradual increase, right? That's what this is. This is what you're looking at down here. You see this increasing incline here, this incline. This is the gradual increase. Nothing explosive. It always starts out very slow. A lot of times people, I think, when we look at these zones, that's why I typically give the ranges as far as, okay, where do we have support? Where do we have resistance? Because there's always two sides to where we can potentially have money come back in and where we can have potential money come out, right? And so, and typically you have those zones layered out. The zones remain relevant regardless of price action, right? Because whether that is where the options traders are going to be, where the swing traders are going to be, where people have previously bought around their supporting areas, where people have previously taken profit, all of those are to be considered. But when you're looking at this, you have to say, okay, well, this has been a gradual increase, because the biggest things that fund this is going to be when institutional money comes in, or B is when there's FOMO. FOMO always leads to peak bull run, right? FOMO is when the asset has been increasing over and over, like over weeks, over months. It's starting to trend as far as like on the news, and it becomes the tone of it becomes fast money, right? And just like going to Vegas, people love the fast money. So when that becomes the tone of it, you'll get this explosion, and this explosion is this straight up. This is the rocket ship, right? So we're talking about Bitcoin in 2017 being $1,000 basically, and then it going to 20,000. Sold off, right? This is all before the big bull run here. Sold off, right? This is all during, you want to call it the bear market, and having goes down to around $3,000. You can say, if you want to compare it, just say this is Dogecoin 6 to 8 cent range, right? Runs up to around $12,000 at the peak. Let me go back. Runs up to, I know it hit 12. I can't get the cursor this day on it, but it ran up to $12,000. And then, right, so we're talking 300%, 400% increase, gets chopped back down to 5,000. So we're talking about over a 50% decrease, right? So all the tones are like everything that people are saying right now, as far as for like crypto or coins being dead, or it's over, it doesn't make any sense and stuff like that. It makes perfect sense. Everything has done this before. What's different is we do have a lot more people coming into the coin now, and they are still driving the price down. So that is the biggest thing, because I thought essentially that we have more people coming in with additional buying pressure. Now, I'm not saying retail has enough money to outcompete institutions, because we don't, but I thought that would kind of help cushion some of that sell-off that we've seen historically, and that has not been the case. They're still going to drive it down, because this is what they do. If you go back and even look at some of the older videos I made prior to the run in 2021, they were doing the same thing. Like these same companies that are owned, like if you look at like the Motley Fool and a lot of these other articles, hedge funds own these are news article companies that are writing these pieces, and they will literally talk when the asset is decreasing. They will literally ride the wave and say, yeah, this thing has been selling off, this is, there's better alternatives and blah blah blah. Then 3-4 months later, you'll read another article where they increased their position like 20-30%, and now we're in the bull run. They do this, they help the narrative as far as for driving it down, then they buy it cheaply, and then they ride the wave up. It's the same thing with stocks. It happens. And you have to kind of take a look at a bigger perspective. Otherwise, you're going to be some of the people that purchased at 3,000, and when it went to 12, and they were still hoping for higher numbers, and it sold, and then consolidated at 5. They were like, hey, look, I'm still green. It looks like it's going to bounce here. I think it's may bounce and go lower, and the next sell and take profits, right? And then we all know what happened here. I mean, you can look at this several times. Like, even if you bought at 20, and it went down to 3, yes, that is gut wrenching for you to be into a coin of $20,000 and it goes down to 3. But if you would have waited, it would have more than paid for itself. And you can see this overlapping with Doge. Let me go back here. It's just like the people that purchase, when we were consolidating, especially on the way down, we spent a lot of time at around the 12 to 15 range. And the people that even sold at around the 6 cent, patience would have given you an opportunity at a higher return. And I think that's the biggest thing people lack here is the instant gratification of, I feel like it should run faster, or I feel like the bull run should be, according to my timing. So the bull run is 18 months. That is that. It is what it is. Like that. That is nothing anyone can do about it. That is the average that it's been. And until we have theories as far as on why it can be shorter, but until that is proven, that's just a theory. That's a hypothesis. It could work out. Don't get me wrong, because we do have some different outliers this time. But right now, you have to be prepared to say, okay, well, the best price for my coin, Dogecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever, is going to be somewhere between right now and a year and a half from now. That's the gist of it. Now, your personal situation as far as for what you're able to tolerate and these ups and downs, that is up to you. But historically speaking, this is absolutely normal. There has not been a divergence yet. So even if you're looking here, like for the people when we came down, like even if you purchased initially at 5 cents, right, and we went to 60 cent plus or whatever, sold off, came back down, had some flash crashes to 5, but consolidate roughly around 6 to 8 cents, right? Patience would have given you a higher return. You can see this all throughout the coins here, and it's you're really trading. You can do zone to zone, but in the macro, you're trading cycle to cycle. These assets typically build on top of each other, cycle to cycle, and whether that be through expanding, whether that be through utility, whether that be through supply and demand, depending on the coin, all those things are relevant. So we have to kind of keep that in mind. The biggest thing, obviously, for Doge is going to be getting that utility. I'll do a separate video on that, but I wanted to kind of just cover the history here so that we can address some of the FUD and BS that I'm seeing really being circulated. So let me go. What is finance? Okay. So where we are now is we've been rejecting pretty much off of this orange line has been the 72-day for Doge. So the biggest thing that we're saying, okay, well, if especially for people that are invested in Doge and they're saying like, oh, we believe it's gonna, crash or do this, do that. Again, the biggest thing is going to be, is there a divergence from what's happening overall in crypto? Because if you are looking at a coin that's tracing Bitcoin or Ethereum, whether it's up or down, it's tracing the coin, but then on one side, you say, I believe that Bitcoin is going to go over $100,000. I believe Bitcoin is going to, if you're a Bitcoin maxi and have some exposure here, I believe this cycle with ETFs and XYZ, I believe that this coin is going to go well into multiple six figures. If you're on ARK, I think she said $500,000 to 1.5 million per coin or something like that. If you're saying that is peak bull run, right? We're talking probably a $10 trillion market cap in the crypto space. Then you have to say, okay, what does that mean for a coin that traces the price action almost to a T? What does that mean to the price? When it goes up, the candlesticks, the lines, however you want to do it, it traces the coin. What does that mean for the overall price action? And if you come to the term that says, okay, well, I still believe that's going to be down, then you're not including the entire picture, right? You have to, before you start to say this coin is, and not even just this coin, any coin, you have to look for a divergence based off of what's going on in the market. You can't have the entire market sell off and then you single out your coin because you don't like it. If you see that the entire market is trending and we're having, the green and red days, all that kind of good stuff is matching unless there's an outlier, and you're seeing the sell off here from 20, even dipping down below 50, we're talking about a $20,000 decrease in the price action. All that makes sense as far as what we're talking about. And I do want to point out that we did talk about this blue line here that I've had here for quite some time. We did talk about the potential. This was my low for Bitcoin, which was the 58,000 mark. And we came in so far at 59,841. So $1,000 off so far. So this is a low for Bitcoin. By low, I mean, I used the historical averages to come up with this number at around 59,000. Plus, we've had a previous rejection here, so it kind of worked out perfectly to kind of be able to chart this. But that has kind of played a role as far as saying, okay, well, what's the top here between all-time high and where are we most likely to get a bounce on the extreme case? And so right now that is holding up. right? And Doge is still roughly around 15 cents. So that would actually, and even if you consider that, considering that Bitcoin has broken through two major support levels, that means, I mean, Doge is actually holding up better if you're looking at the support levels, the break that it's taken to actually maintain this, because technically we flew through this zone. Like we the first time we filled this zone in a single candlestick, and the other time we ascended through this zone, we had 2 red days, and then we went into the next zone. So even now we're still hovering around the 15 cent. So it's been very, they've tried to push it down. We've had some push downs to around 13, but we did not close there. The wick on this is longer than the candle. This buying pressure was bought up, right? So this is showing you where the market's trying to price in Dogecoin. So this is very important when you're looking at, okay, the potential for an asset to go lower. What has happened when this asset, they tried to push this asset lower, right? Let's look here. They tried to push this asset to around 12, 13 cent. What do we have here? We have an engulfing candle that was the size of the previous 2 red days. They tried to push this asset down. Here again, this was before that in early March. And what do we have here? Another situation where the wick is longer than the candle. And we immediately bought before this candle closed. It was all purchased up, and we're back into the zone above. So right now, even when they try to get it back down to around 12, 13 cent, it gets purchased aggressively and immediately for the last 3 times, to the point where it ends up closing in the zone above where the 12 and 13 is in it. So that's very powerful price action when you're looking at where the market is trying to find equilibrium for the coin. So overall, if you're able to, if you're sitting here saying if you've been in position since 2020, 2021, saying, hey, I've been waiting. If you're able to catch some of these price points, especially now that you have evidence that we're about to go into the bull run, these are great opportunities. This is what I'm saying. When you're able to buy it below support, below those support ranges, those are going to be your best buys, because it's the easiest way to make money. The easiest way to make money right now is for Dogecoin. And if you're trading, right, I'm just going to put that out there. If at 15 cents, if you're able to catch it below it on this cycle, you were at any point in time in this trend, you were in profit in less than 24 hours. 24 to 36 hours, you were in profit, right? So those were the best times to actually buy this, is at the bottom of the zone. So rather that be 18, if we're hovering at 18 and it dips below 18, you want it below that current zone. If you want it at 15, you want it below, excuse me, that current zone. And what that does is that gives you leeway where you're not, if you are trying to increase your position, so that you're not always on the money, you're not consistently averaging up so aggressively. So that way, even if we go to 20, 25, 30, you're not buying right there, and your profit margin is always so slim. So that's giving you the opportunity to put some meat in there, so that in the event that you need to maneuver, you can, because you're not so pressed about where your DCA is, because you're trailing the current price action. I'm going to take a look at one more thing. So I think this is important, because I know this is going to be a longer video. I'm like shooting a movie right now. Those longs and short statistics right now. So right now, even with all this chaos going on, the longs are still coming in at over 70%. Right. So even the liquidations, they're matching almost perfectly. 3.2 on the 24-hour to 3.6 on the short. 3.2 on the long 24-hour and 3.6 on the short 24-hour. Almost an even match here. So we're looking at just as much shorts are going out, longs are coming in. So they are literally just as like a tennis match back and forth here. No one dominating the liquidations aspect. The people that are coming in, obviously that's still longs. And you'll see that based off of the price action. What I was just saying, when you have that big push down and it gets bought up, they're not taking that lightly. It's being purchased up for a reason, because they believe that it's undervalued, right? Open interest, right under 3/4 of a billion, 742.6. Pretty much flatline for the last few days. So ultimately, this is going to be where we search for that bottom, and then we start that gradual ascent. So if you're looking at price action and what this means for the overall coin and the market, positioning is everything. So what we have here is the potential to run the full 18 months. And we don't, if we're looking at historical averages, that puts these coins in peak bull run. I mean, who knows? But we know that it is progressively higher, right? I have my target for $1.40 for Doge. I think Bitcoin at minimum, even if we have like some crazy stuff going on, I'd say at absolute minimum, because even 100,000 is not a bull run for Bitcoin. If we're talking about historic runs, we should see something like 500,000. I know we have the law of diminishing returns and stuff, and we'll see how that plays out. But if we're talking about historical numbers, we should see at least 500,000 Bitcoin. So we are going to see a massive expansion in the crypto market. I think we're going to have a 10 trillion plus market cap, which is more than double what we peaked at last time, around 4 trillion. So, and I think that's going to highly inflate the value of the top 10 coins. So, and obviously, where these positions are. Most of my followers are invested in Dogecoin. So, that means higher allocations overall. So with that being said, I wanted to just kind of point out that this has been kind of like a history lesson here, because what we're seeing and the narrative being pushed here doesn't align with what we've seen pretty much 100% of the time leading up to the bull run. They do this every time, right? 4 years from now, all this is going to repeat. All these numbers, all these sell-offs, these panics, the people saying the same thing, all this is going to repeat. So the best thing we can do now is educate ourselves, take a look into history, see what has happened, what historically happens, and see if there's a divergence. If there's no divergence, there's no panic. So that being said, if you found value in this video, please consider subscribing, share it with a friend. We're still shooting to beat Bitcoin to 100,000 by getting 100,000 subscribers first. So if you can help with that, that'll be greatly appreciated. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section. I will see you guys in the next video.